There's nothing better than coming home to some Chick-fil-A, bruh. I just got home from work, and literally at work, I'm just looking at these numbers, and I'm like, what is going on? Guys literally want one thing, and it's disgusting. An FOV slider. I want you to realize how amazing it is that Warzone runs on PS4 at all. Like, think about it. It's a huge map. 150, 140, whatever, how many players it is. All doing different things at the same time. It has to render a bunch of things, and your game still tries to maintain the 60 FPS that Modern Warfare offers. Compared to other games, what other game really did that with that scale? And it was a first-person shooter, and kept the level of detail that Warzone keeps throughout its map and weapons and everything. Already a huge advancement in anything we've had before on PS4. There's a ton of other shooters on PS4 that are not the scale that Warzone is, and they still don't offer the FOV slider. Obviously, there's some kind of limitation power-wise, who knows, rendering-wise. System probably has to render more, do more just to get you that wider angle. And sometimes that means sacrificing performance, and the game rather keep your frame rate up and consistent rather than having you jump frames just to get that wider angle. That's my guess on why they don't do it often. Even Titanfall 2, they added an FOV slider after its release, and that one only went up to 70, which is only 10 more up than the original. So even just to get that little bit of space on your screen, it costs them something, obviously. So there's obviously a reason they don't do it often, and to see Cold War do it is pretty interesting, and I'm assuming that there was a different technology that went into doing that, and they had to do a couple of tweaks just to get that to work. The PS5 obviously has more processing power, which is why they're able to get this FOV to work on games now on console, and same thing with the Series X. It just has more raw power to actually widen your view and keep your frame rate normal. Destiny 2 added FOV on PS5. Call of Duty has FOV and it keeps the same frame rate throughout when you're playing on there on Cold War. It makes sense that they needed more power to get this to work properly. My take on it is that if you've always played on console without it, you'll be just fine. I think knowing that other people have it and you don't makes it a problem, and also knowing you're in a game such as Warzone, knowing that other people are playing that same game as you and have an advantage over you in a way because they can see more. So yeah, in a way it is an advantage to PC players, and soon console players will be up to par with them. Well, at least for next gen. I don't know if that means they will be updating the PS4 version. I think what Raven Software are working on is a completely revamped version of the game just for PS5, not just updating the PS4 version that we're playing right now, if that makes sense. So for the PS4 one, they probably would have to go in there and change some things and mess with what's already there, whereas they're building the PS5 one kind of from the ground up, but porting everything that's already on the game. I like how I'm talking about raw power, and this character is obviously poorly rendered. She looks like shapes, and yeah, I'm pretty sure it's just a Warzone glitch, but it's funny that I was talking about it and she looks like that. Okay, now I'm going to tell you my biggest problem with FOV on console and why I need that FOV slider on PS5. Look, when you are running in Warzone, if you're running in Cold War with max FOV, if you're running in Warzone on PC max FOV, for me it's not even about what I'm able to see. I'm fine seeing in front of me and moving left and right, whatever. The most taxing thing in this game, for me, is the fact that it affects your movement speed, and it just looks like you're running so slow. You're running the same speed. Everyone's running the same speed in the game, obviously. But when you're looking at it, by zooming in, it just looks like you're running slower. And that is the most annoying part for me when I'm playing Warzone on console. I can play on the controller. I don't mind sacrificing the mouse and keyboard, to play on controller. I can play on the FOV that they're providing, but the way it affects your movement in a game like Modern Warfare, where you're always moving, jumping, sliding, and being kind of agile, it just makes everything seem so slow, and I hate it. It's probably the worst thing, in my opinion, that when it comes to FOV and how it affects the game, that is the number one reason why I would want an FOV slider on Modern Warfare, just for the movement speed. I just want my movement. I want to be able to slide. I want to be able to jump. And I'm going to show you exactly what I'm talking about, because I'm going to show you on PC when you go from 120 down to 60, how that looks. But yeah, running speed, it just feels like your character's just literally running in place, barely moving, when that's not the case. You're obviously running next to a guy. You could be on a squad with a guy that's running the same speed as you. He's on PC, he's max FOV. On his screen, he looks like he's zooming through the field. On our screen, we look like we're on a treadmill. Even putting the same scene side by side, you can tell that there's a huge difference in how much you can see of the map. Just look at how zoomed in the helicopter looks compared to the other one. The PS5 one is obviously a lot closer, and you can see less of the map. PC one, you can see a lot more of the map. Being on mouse and keyboard obviously has its impact on your movement speed as well. At least for me, I can move a lot quicker and turn faster and do everything faster. But even just how the game looks and feels a lot quicker because of that FOV. It directly affects your movement speed, literally. Or how it looks, at least. But look how quickly everything happens, and boom, done. That was a nice no scope. So having your FOV maxed out does create sort of a fisheye effect. Buildings seem a lot larger than they are, a lot wider. When you're inside of them, they seem more roomy, kind of stretched out. And sometimes that creates the illusion that things are further than they actually are, and sometimes harder to see. You might be able to see further out, left and right, but also in front of you seems further. Whereas normal FOV, like standard PS5 FOV, things seem a lot closer because you don't have that fisheye effect. The room seems smaller and so on. Even tactical sprint seems a lot faster on PC, where on PS5, or if you turn down the FOV on PC, tactical sprint doesn't even feel like it's doing anything at all, which is crazy. What I ended up doing was going from the 120 down to 60. If you look at the picture on the right, it shows you exactly what FOV is doing, showing you more of the map. By going to 60, you're literally cropping out all this space that you would be able to see. So if there was a guy standing right here in this little line, where this line is for the 100, you wouldn't be able to see. If the console version doesn't go up to 120, it's understandable. It's a lot more rendering. This whole extra space has to render. So 100 would be fine with me, but anything above 60, really. 80, I know they can maybe do 80 for sure, but I'm really hoping for at least, or at most, 100. And I ended up going from this to this, and it's so taxing. Your weapons look cropped, everything looks bigger, a lot closer. You could see a lot better, I feel like, but just look at how slow it feels like I'm running. Actually, going from 120 to 60 on PC feels even slower than going to the PS5, which makes me think maybe the PS5 field of view isn't 60. Maybe it's, I don't know, is it? I don't really know that, but I just know that this feels slower than the PS5. And it also looks a tad bit closer. Like, that guy would have appeared to be much further than he actually was if I was on 120 FOV. But this is definitely closer to the experience you're getting on console. That guy seems like he's real close up. Like, with max FOV, he would have definitely seen further. But that's the point I'm trying to make. And I ended up dying, but I got my point across. You guys can tell pretty much the difference here. Like, it even feels like your character is shorter. Like, it feels like I'm close to the ground. Look at the flowers. Look how close to the flowers it feels like. That's insane. Stadium looks real close up. I'm pretty sure if we were max FOV, we would be able to see that stadium, you know, a lot further. Maybe I have a clip of the stadium when it was a lot further. Let's see. I have another. Okay. Yeah. Okay, look. This is exactly my point. I was probably around the same distance from this stadium on the other clip. And this clip, I have yet to turn down the FOV. It's maxed out here, and I can see the entire stadium and its surrounding areas. I can see this whole building over here. If there was a sniper up on this building, I would see his flashing light from here. That's how crazy it is to have max FOV, which is really exciting to know that this will be possible on console, on PS5. And for the hopeful PS4 people, well, keep hoping. I doubt 120. I don't know, is the Cold War one 120? It might be. I think it is. But just for Warzone, it just seems a lot more work for your console to handle. It already sounds like a turbine jet engine. I can't imagine having 60 frames, 120 FOV. Even if it's 60 frames, I still think like it's pretty taxing on the console. But yeah, going from max FOV, even when I'm inside the stadium, you can see how wide it looks from the inside. Like from left to right, the stadium looks huge. Yeah, I ended up dying, but that's fine. I'm not a Warzone master. PS4 kids, you guys can keep hoping for FOV slider. I don't think you're gonna get it. If you do, I'd be surprised. Well, for Warzone at least. It'd be nice, I'm not gonna lie. But I also feel like they shouldn't do it just to give people a reason to want to upgrade to the next gen hardware, because it's progression. Like, you should want to upgrade. I know not everyone can, and if you can, well, you just have to appreciate the fact that you can play the game at all. It's a free game. The FOV thing is whatever. I didn't know FOV until I went to PC. And yeah, I enjoy it now, and it's hard to go back. But when I didn't have it, it wasn't a big deal, because you're kind of just used to looking at that same, screen, same game. The way the game looks is the same to you. You don't have anything to compare it to, so it makes it easy to play. But I understand that obviously I feel like people are being more informed now about like specs and stuff, about frame rates. I don't think as a 14-year-old kid, I don't think I cared about what frame rate my Call of Duty ran at. And now that, things are different. Kids are getting more invested in PC parts, PC specs, frame rates, hertz, monitors. It's just getting a lot crazier than what it was before. We're getting 120 FPS support. We're getting FOV slider on PS5, Series X, Series S. Don't know about PS4. And we already have mouse and keyboard support. Those are all three reasons for me to just play on PS5 versus my PC, which struggles to run the game at times, especially if I want to stream and do content for it. And I'm really looking forward to this. I already made a video on the news, and this is just me kind of elaborating on why it's important, why people should care about it, why it might not come to PlayStation, and hopefully you guys enjoyed that. And I will see you guys on the next one.